Welcome back to Desert Sun Crypto. I'm your host, the Desert Sun. I took a few days off, and I'll tell you, in the crypto space, you take an hour off, a minute off, a second off, it doesn't matter what it is, you're always behind all the information that comes out because there's literally something happening every second. Warp speed, as they'd say. So I want to dive into it and get everyone caught up on what's happened in the last 3 days. And going forward, you're probably gonna get some more clips from me, whether you like it or not. So this came out Friday. BinanceUS CEO Brian Brooks quits size strategic differences. And a little caveat to that below. Brooks confirmed in an email that his Twitter account was not hacked. It's interesting because there's been a number of duplicate accounts being created for folks in the crypto space. Hopefully that doesn't happen to the Desert Sun. But Brian Brooks on Friday sent out this tweet. Greetings, crypto community. Letting you all know that I have resigned as CEO of Binance US. Despite differences over strategic direction, I wish my former colleagues much success. Exciting new things to come. Now, everyone that, was sharing this, is soaking up the FUD, which is strategic differences. What does he know that we don't? What's going on in the background? This article really didn't have much to offer other than point and direct people toward Brian Brooks's Twitter. And in case you don't know who Brian Brooks is, I'm a huge fan of him because he's probably one of the best spokespersons for the cryptocurrency space. Came from Coinbase, was head of the OCC, the Office of the Controller of Currency, and now the former CEO of Binance US. I'm always excited to see where he goes because he seems to always put himself in a place where he's got better access to helping prop up the space. So to Brian, congratulations on leaving, and I look forward to seeing where you land. Jumping over to the cryptocurrency prices and the market cap, we're sitting just below 1.8 trillion. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, everything seems to be up today. Nothing but green over here on the right, except for Binance. It took a little bit of a drop, but that might be the Brian Brooks departure. Again, I always say this, not financial advice, not a financial advisor. But let's look at Bitcoin on the 7-day. It hit as high as 45,000, sitting right about 44 in Ethereum, which is just surpassed in the 7-day 3,000. So, hopefully for those that have put their money in Ethereum, it stays. Everyone has always got, speculation on everything that's going to happen. Will it come back? Who knows? But if it's not, sayonara, and, and away you go. I did want to jump over back to Twitter and Christian Carlo. Christian Carlo is a former CFTC chairman, and a few days ago, shots fired from every corner, which direction between who is going to regulate the cryptocurrency space and who is capable of. Christian Carlo had tweeted a few days ago that only the U.S. regulatory agency has experience regulating the markets for Bitcoin and crypto, and it's not the SEC, it's the CFTC. If the Biden administration is serious about sensible cryptocurrency regulation, it needs to nominate a CFTC chairperson, or chairman in his case, which is quite interesting. And I'll tell you why. First, I want to share with you Commissioner Brian Quintenz. Now, this is from a few years ago, and he's speaking with regard to clarity and lack of it in the space under SEC head Jay Clayton.
So I think, generally getting back to, setting policy through enforcement, I think an optimal approach to regulation, especially of an incipient but growing market, is for the regulator to provide that market with clarity, with guidance, or even with some type of bright line test that gives some indication of the agency's potential interpretation of its own regulations.
See, this whole thing about clarity that Garlinghouse fired off on with at Gary Gensler, who at this point is regurgitating what Jay Clayton and Hinman have said before. There hasn't been clarity, and here's documentation of it. One of the commissioners of the CFTC is saying that there's been no clarity from the SEC, which would lead you to believe that the SEC would have a stake in creating regulation. I do want to share with you something that I both thought about and I did some digging, and that is like if you're looking at the CFTC and what its past has been with regard to cryptocurrency, we can look no further than the former chairman, none other than Gary Gensler, the current chairman of the SEC. So he was chairman of the CFTC from 2009 to 2014. Now, I found this clip in which they're asking him on who regulates the space or who can. Now, this is when he's at MIT. He's left the CFTC, and this is Gensler as a private citizen talking about who can regulate the space. Here's what he has to say.
Big exchanges like Coinbase need to really come within either SEC or the CFTC, the agency I once was honored to chair.
I don't need to play that again. He says that he's throwing it out there that it could be the CFTC or the SEC. I honestly think that just by the pure fact that as the CFTC, Gensler was chiming in, and it seems like the CFTC seems to be more knowledgeable of the space, and seems to be, in my opinion and my bias, more aligned to be able to tackle such a huge, fluid industry. I believe it's the CFTC. Speaking of Ripple, this article came out on the 5th. Ripple to keep headquarters in U.S. despite lack of clarity around SEC crypto regulations. Again, a lot of FUD. People are saying Ripple was going to jump ship, and were potentially some other companies just based off the lack of clarity, more regulation, some pending legislation moving through Congress. Ripple laying the case that it's not, and Ripple's continuing to move things forward. They're hiring new people. There's this article from Forecast in which I found interesting, in which they say Ripple expands XRP into NFTs amid escalating legal battle. Okay, you've got my attention. Now, scrolling down here, I want to get into what David Schwartz, Ripple's chief technology, said. Quote, a lot of us have sort of bundles of digital rights like movies or songs that we purchase, books that you may have, or a Kindle, and they're typically tied to services that have monthly fees. So there's an interesting future use case of allowing people to sort of be their own custodians of their digital rights, which I find interesting. There's this idea of ownership of things that you own, everything from what you might put out there to things that you purchase, as a use case for NFTs, as well as real estate, which has been just mind-boggling for me. But one thing that I'll share is that people have been downplaying these NFTs in terms of art. Art was kind of the introduction of the NFTs to the world with the amount that was selling and for the price tags on many of them. But again, I look past all the noise, I drown it out, and I look at the things as far as the use case, and that is most important to me. So certainly that's a great place to look if you're trying to understand what some of this new technology is. I do want to go back to Rosalind Layton and her article in Forbes, and she's talking about the SEC Ripple case as being uh, the leeway into a Ripple test, which is, as she puts it, a method of determining how a cryptocurrency would be a security or an asset. The reason she brings it up is because of the nature of how the Howey test was used. The Howey test being used by the SEC to determine basically what is a security. Now, I believe that with the technology that the cryptocurrency provides, and for futures of it seems that a Ripple test would make sense. And so I encourage you to read this article. I've shared it before because I think it's a great insight into what's potentially happening with this SEC Ripple case. And again, Ripple's top lawyer on the SEC battle. We're fighting for the crypto industry, and I truly believe they are. One thing that I'll say now, I've said it thousands of times before, is that this is the most interesting case in my lifetime, in future lifetimes, that no one is paying attention to. I think people are going to look back on this period and say, what were we doing, you know, during this case? How come I didn't know about it? And I think it's done intentionally, because I think if people really saw just how ludicrous it is for the SEC to, be pursuant in this idea that they've been clear. It reminds me of, a teacher that is, when you're a kid that's just blind to a kid that says he needs to go to the bathroom, or he's going to pee his pants, and the teacher not letting the kid go to the bathroom, and everybody in the classroom saying, like, no, this he's not crying wolf, he needs to go to the bathroom. That's what this feels like, and it's really quite interesting to see this all play out, because you would think someone like Gensler, coming from the CFTC, having a lot of knowledge in the space, would kind of buck the system and do his own thing, but he's definitely drank the Kool-Aid, and he's definitely riding the coattails of Hinman and Clayton before him. Just a little status on where this thing might go. I want to turn everything over to Jeremy Hogan of Legal Briefs as he wraps up one of his amazing interpretations of what's happening with the SEC Ripple lawsuit.
Or perhaps one of the other possible scenarios has passed. Look for something to be filed in the case by this Friday. If nothing is filed this Friday, my guess is that, well, let me just say, there's something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear.
There's that whole thing with clarity again. Jeremy's, hilarious, very candid in all the information that he shares. Go check him out. Hit a subscribe as well, as I have. And I'll tell you, there's been no better person to clear up things with regard to the legal perspective with the SEC Ripple case than Jeremy, and also his wife. And I do want to share this. This was posted on Twitter by Mark P. Bergenegger, and the title of it, and this is from an article back in 1996. Telephone industry moves to ban internet phone software. And the reason he posts this is because he's making the case for what's happening today with what many people are sharing about cryptocurrency. I've heard things about cryptocurrency being banned. I've heard that cryptocurrencies will be confiscated, and you name it. And it does take me back to the time where the internet was looked as a bad thing. Not that it's cleared anything today, but there's certainly people that have something to say about social media and what have you. But the reality is that it's something that we use to function, and I just think it's interesting that when we look back and we see so many similarities between things that have happened in the past, it's definitely shown what can and may happen in the future. And with that said, I am going to wrap it up. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and look out for future videos that I release. Thank you once again. This is the Desert Sun. Have a good one, folks.